And we are live. Hello, everybody, and
Hello.
welcome. Hi, welcome
Hello.
to look at all these lovely people we have on the stream today. Welcome to the AWS Innovate Community Panel. This is a very, very excellent event. I'm very looking forward to get into this. But during over the next 60 minutes, we're going to hear from some of our great AWS community members who you can see before you, who are from across the entire APJ region. So this is a live show. We are on Twitch. So I really encourage everyone watching who has a question for the panel to put them in the chat, and we'll try and get to as many as possible over the next 60 minutes. So I'll start with a bit of an intro. My name's Derek, a developer advocate in AWS, and I'll be asking the questions. So to start things off, I think I'll start off for an easy one for our panel. So I'll start with Jones. I'm going to pick on Jones. Tell us about yourself, Jones. A little bit of a background about yourself for everybody watching.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Derek. So I'm Jones Zachariah Noel. I am a AWS community builder, and I also an AWS co-organizer of AWS User Group Bengaluru. I work as a senior developer advocate at Freshworks. I am actively contributing in the AWS community, be it with blog posts or sessions at several meetups in India and several sessions with webinars with Reskill. I also contribute with various other AWS communities with ASEAN, and I also have represented AWS User Group Bengaluru and the community builders at AWS Game Day as a special guest, speaking about my experience at Game Day. So yeah, that's a little about me, Derek.
Awesome, Jones. Thank you very much. The next person I'm going to pick on is Wendy. Hi,
Hi,
Wendy.
everyone. Hi, Derek. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again, and great to see the panel. I'm Wendy. I'm a business performance analyst at Service New South Wales. I work in government in Sydney. I'm an Australian AWS community builder, really passionate about data, a real data nerd. And I write blog posts for dev.to, and I started data quite late in my career. So my former career is to be a financial planner, but I'm quite creative, so I love writing. And I used to be the director of Women in Big Data Sydney. And I also organised a few conferences for women in data science Sydney as well. And in my spare time, I love to sing and a little bit creative, a little bit nerdy as well.
Fantastic. I have heard Wendy singing, and you are fantastic. Thanks, Wendy. The next person I'm going to pick on is Ali.
Thank you, Derek. Hey, everyone. My name is Ali Haidar. I am a software engineer. I live in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm the platform team lead at a company called Fergus. Fergus provides a software for tradies to help them manage their jobs. I'm also an AWS community builder in the serverless category. My career is not very traditional. I started as a tester and I progressed organically into a leadership position within the testing discipline. That was great, and it's given me a breadth of exposure to how to build software and multiple disciplines within software. I wanted, though, to be also exposed to the in-depth building of software, how to build solutions from A to Z. So a few years ago, I shifted towards development as well. Started on the front end and progressed quickly towards API and platform, specifically within AWS. And that's been great. And now my current role involves people leadership, delivery, and hands-on work. I'm also a mentor at a company called Mission Ready. They help people who graduated or people who want to get into tech. They help them get into tech through offering programs and courses. And in my spare time, I kind of cycle, I cook, and I sometimes play board games with friends.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Ali. Next, we have Dipali. Would you like to introduce yourself, Dipali?
Sure, Derek. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Dipali Kulshrestha. I'm based in Delhi, India. I'm an AWS hero and group lead for AWS UG Delhi NCR. And I work for NetWest Group as Vice President in Data Engineering Space. And I also conduct various AWS trainings and workshops for NetWest as well as for community. I'm also an LinkedIn Learning instructor where I have created courses on DevOps and data engineering with AWS.
Awesome. Thanks, Dipali. And then last but not least, we have Faisal. Faisal, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Derek, for having me here. So, hi everyone. Excited to be here. My name is Faisal Khan. I'm currently founder at two organizations: Ecom India Cloud IT, which is based in Hyderabad, India, and Excite Logic, which is a US-based company. So I started with the AWS community about 6 years ago in Hyderabad. I started off as just a member of the user group in Hyderabad. And there's been some transitions there, some growth there. I moved to kind of like a user group lead role, and then from there I kind of became a community builder, and today an AWS community hero. There's a lot that happened in between. So in terms of like giving talks on different AWS services, running meetups, doing events like community days, and also building some tools for the community. You should actually check that out. It's called letstalkaws.com. It's kind of a forum for the community. In my free time, I do a lot of tinkering with electronics and 3D printing. I do a little bit of baking on the side when I find the time. I also I'm a very big fan of Formula One. So I kind of recently started my own brand of merchandise known as Racer Parrot. So, if you want one of those merchandise for F1, just let me know. But my main passion is actually teaching. So I've spent a lot of time doing a lot of maybe corporate training sessions. I also kind of have my own online sessions that I do in terms of teaching technology. So that's kind of where my passion lies. Yep, that's me.
That's fantastic, Faisal. So as you can see, of our panel, I have come from many different parts of APJ. If you're watching, where you watching from? And our panel have a lot of experience in technology and in AWS and cloud technology. So now is your chance, if you're listening, to ask them questions and to pick their brains in the nicest possible way. So while you're thinking of questions, I'll start with one of mine. So this one, I'll start and I'll ask Wendy. So Wendy, technology has the ability to solve problems that makes lives, experiences, and even the world better. What is one way technology is improving the world that you are particularly excited about?
Yeah, thanks, Derek. Good question. I'm really excited about the possibilities of using technology, especially machine learning, to be able to detect stroke. So at the moment, we don't have a lot of machine learning models. We haven't collected enough data. So until we get there, especially in health in Australia, we could really collaborate with different countries as well and share our research to detect the ability to mitigate stroke and to help patients to actually continue on the journey to rehabilitation. So my dad had stroke, so to be able to build different features within a machine learning model to predict the incidence of stroke using cloud as well, and to improve and build better models over time as well using AI. That would be one way.
Nice. That is an awesome application of technology. That's great, Wendy. Thanks for sharing. I'll ask the same question next to you, Ali. What is exciting you?
Yeah, lots of things. So, in its simplest form, I love how technology has connected people around the world. So, this stream, for example, but also I'm able to connect to my parents, my friends at any time, anywhere. So, this is so great. But other than that, it enabled better access to opportunities around the world, like whether education or work, for example. So this is something that I'm really passionate about, and I love like seeing people from underrepresented groups like being able to access these kind of opportunity. And as Wendy mentioned, so access to health, physical health and mental health. So there's increased access to psychological counseling nowadays, health apps, yeah, and just the ability to stay connected. Yeah, so there is heaps to continue improving and to utilize the technology for the good of humanity in general, and we just have to use it in an ethical manner.
Yeah, I think that's an incredibly important, Ali, ethics around technology, and it's a conversation that I'm sure will be ongoing for some time to come as well. So next, I'll ask same question to you, Dipali. What's your thoughts on this?
Sure, Derek. So I think honestly, nowadays it is impossible to imagine even a single day without technology. So, like, it has improved every aspect of life, the way we do shopping, we book cabs, order food, education, healthcare, anything. So, maybe being an IT professional, we can still visualize these changes well in advance. But when we talk to our parents or kids, they don't really understand the work we do at our workplace and they don't relate to our contribution to the real world. But with the COVID pandemic in last 2 years, we have seen such a setback in each sector. But with the help of technology, we were able to deal with it to a great extent. And it helped in all areas, but a major impact was seen in the education world, where kids started learning online and realized the power of technology. It proved how easy it is to use technology for just class 1 students and for even non technical teachers. They use these tools for impactful education, and it definitely cultivated a good habit of learning in everyone, learning some good stuff on internet rather than just spending time over social media. So now people have a good habit. Now we can see that change on the ground, that people are spending time to learn something better on the internet. So yeah, it is definitely helping to make world better.
Yeah, Yeah, excellent. Thanks to Pally. So who's next? Who's my next victim? So same question to you, Faisal, around technology and improving. Let's bring you up. There we go.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, where do I start? Like, there's so many things that technology has solved for us and just made our lives easier in so many ways, right? I'm a very strong believer of the concept of being a global citizen, without boundaries, exploring cultures and connecting with other people. And that's something that definitely technology has kind of solved and is actually making it better. We're moving into a scenario from just, video calls into AR and VR, and where you can experience, people sitting several thousand miles or across the globe. You can connect with them like they were right there. It's a big step from some older technologies like maybe Cisco telepresence or something, where you could do like a telecon, but things have changed a lot. I mean, look at our panel. We're from all over the world, and we're sitting here like we're in the same room. So that's something that I'm very excited about. But more importantly, for me personally, because I'm always, I don't know about you guys, but I'm always confused when there's a large menu in front of me to select something, or when you have too many choices to pick from. So sometimes I believe ignorance is bliss, and what helps with this is the cognitive ease of making decisions for yourself, whether it's in terms of picking something that you want to buy, or making a choice quick without having to spend a lot of mental energy trying to make that decision. So I see, AI ML making those predictions for you based on, what you normally do. So that's something that I'm quite looking forward to and excited about.
Great. Yeah, I do struggle choosing the right kind of food. Um, so finally, I'll ask this question to who have I not asked? Jones. I haven't asked Jones.
Thank you, Derek. So I believe pretty much everybody covered different aspects of it, but some we forgot sports. I love sports, and I love the fact how technology has come into sports, where we could sit and watch a live game away from the place, miles away from the place, and without even a delay. And I mean, there's milliseconds delay, but that's livable. And the fact that how analytics with sports and how the whole uh, technology has helped sports, be it F1 or football, for instance, where there is a lot of analytics, like what happens if there's the predictions happen that happens in the world of football and in F1, where technology has pitched in a lot with AI/ML models, with data analytics. So the ease of prediction a goal, or the ease of determining a goal, or things like that, is amazing. And also in terms of like the 2 years ago when went into a pandemic, it was hard, where we had to struggle and to get back even to order groceries or things like that. And technology has helped us get a lot of apps which is built on over the cloud, and with various different technologies, which has helped us to book or order groceries from the comfort of our home, right? So yeah, that's helped us a lot. So yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Jones. They're all great answers. And what a broad swathe of things that we talked about. Just that the technology can help us with. So thanks very much for answering that. We have a question from the audience. So Srikanth City, if I pronounced that right, that would be an absolute miracle. But anyway, has asked how to prepare for an AWS certification exam. So a few of us, I'm sure, on this panel have a AWS cert. So has anybody got any tips that they can help viewer with? I'll start with Ali. I think Ali, you might have a few.
Yeah, hey. So yeah, I've done a couple of certificates and I'm still preparing for others to continue. So first, I'd like to mention that my opinion about certificates are that they're a way for you to validate your knowledge within AWS, and that's super cool to do and to have. How I started about certificate is by looking first. If you're not like knowledgeable at all within AWS. The Quest role-playing game that AWS has created is super cool way to start, and it is really practical and cool. But also there is the Skill Builder website from AWS. It offers you a self-paced courses so that you can look into them and start from there. I think like creating projects is super nice, and it helps you like understand what the services do, and this will enable you to answer the certificate questions in a pretty nice manner. A couple of websites I go to are the AWS workshop.io and the workshop.aws. Yeah, but there are also a couple of independent courses providers. So, for example, like Adrian Cantrell has very nice courses online, and as well there is the Cloud Academy. So these are all courses. How I kind of try to pick from each of them, and I try to do like practice on the tutorial dojo, mainly a set of questions that could help me with similar style of what happens during the exam. I hope that was helpful.
It's very, very in depth there, Ali. Anybody else? Faisal, you got something to add there to what Ali's already discussed?
Yeah, I mean, Ali's kind of got it already covered fully. But what I would say is, when you're talking about certifications, from someone who comes from a background of like, having the passion of teaching, that's like asking me, how do I pass my exam quickly? There's no shortcuts to it, right? And certification should not be seen as just something that you pass in order to like get that certification or get a job with it. If you kind of focus on certification like a learning experience rather than just passing an exam, you might actually have better luck with it. So what I mean by that is just the interest in actually doing hands-on labs and kind of practicing different solutions and scenarios. And it's also important that when you do learn, that you kind of learn according to what helps you, because I've seen with a lot of students in my training classes that sometimes they just cannot like sit and watch a video for 30 minutes and kind of learn anything from it. Sometimes they need someone to explain it to them, in person or in a class. So you need to kind of find what works for you first. Otherwise it might be a struggle. But more importantly, I think it's definitely the hands-on labs. You don't need to actually learn questions. This is a big mistake that a lot of people make. Don't learn questions and the answers to it. Just do all of the solutions and practice them. And when a question is asked, the answer is almost natural to you rather than just learning the question and answering it.
Cool. Thanks, Fidel. That's a good answer as well. And I believe, Jones, you may have something to add as well. There's a question as well before you start around the specific to the networking speciality. I think everything that we're saying applies to all exams. So it's a way to get through them all if you want. Jones, sorry, back to you.
Yep. So the best way to learn is get your hands dirty. And by that, workshops and things like Cloud Quest, which helps you with learning in terms of taking up some tasks in a gamified way, helps you learn a lot. For certainly beginners who are new to cloud, Cloud Quest is one place where they could understand things. And for somebody who's already has some experience with cloud, I believe taking up some solutions around how to solve certain problems and get your hands dirty, build those solutions on the cloud will certainly help. And of course, when you're preparing for certifications, collaborating with others, where I do know that user groups offer a lot of collective learnings. So collaborating with user groups like that will help you learn a lot of things where everyone pitches in their learnings and you get to learn something new. So yeah.
Oh, awesome. All good tips there from everybody. So I hope they're resonating with the audience and you have learned something. So please keep your questions coming. As you can see, everybody wants to chip in. So the next question I want to ask, and this one is, I'll start with Ali on this one. So tell us about a mistake you once made that you learned from. How did it turn into a success? What advice would you tell beginners about embracing mistakes, Ali?
Yeah, I mean, I made several mistakes in my career, and I'll talk about one mistake that's actually technical. At one point in my career, when I was still a junior, I did the wrong update directly on the database,
Oops.
which production database, and yeah, I panicked and stressed and thought like I'm going to get fired. But I directly like seeked help from my colleagues and. They were all very helpful. Um, it's been a good learning experience from multiple manners. First, like on the technical side, like until this moment, I try to avoid this kind of updates, for example, and yeah, just like find a proper way to build the solution so that we don't really need to touch the database. But sometimes this is needed, and it's good to have other people looking over your shoulder to see what's going on, regardless of how many years of experience you have. But on the other side, like what's really good is that people are supportive in general, and it's good that you say what's happened, and it's good that you seek help for it, and people are going to help, and they're going to be empathetic in general, and that's something that I really appreciate. Yeah, so mainly yeah, just like that. Yeah, ask for help.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think we've all sorry, I'm trying to do multiple things at once. Bad, Derek. I think we've all been there. I think we've all done something in production, and it hasn't come out as we expected. So that's a good example. So next, same question. Next is to you, Dipali.
Sure. So I think the way Ali mentioned that yes, mistakes are part of our life, and we do actually learn from mistakes. They work as a catalyst in our learning journey. So I'm recalling one incident from my initial career days because that is something which I never forget. So what happened? I was using a new source control tool, and it was a pretty new tool for our whole team, and we all were exploring and learning. So one day during my merge request, I did something which ended up deleting the main branch. It was a big mistake, and it took a few days to really go back to the original state. So first I got scared, but now it's the biggest learning of my life, as it always prompts me to be ready with some backup and restore strategy. And I always make sure that my designs are robust and reliable. So, guys, I would say don't afraid of making mistakes. They will happen even after the due diligence you have taken. But always learn from these mistakes and make sure you're not repeating the same mistake. So, I
Yeah.
think that is something we should always keep in mind.
Yeah, I love the way you started that story, Dipali, with a catalyst of your learning journey. That's what failure is. I love that. I love that. I think that was a fantastic praise. And yes, deleting the main branch in a source repository. Certainly, yeah, you do get a little that feeling is quite unique of impending doom.
Yeah,
Thanks,
now
thanks.
I'm laughing, but yes, those few
Yes.
days, like I was like, I don't know in what state I was in.
It's a nervous state. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Some good stories. Who's next? Who's next? Who's my next target in for this question? Mistakes and what did you learn from them? Faisal, you're next. You're up next. Let's bring you into the front of frame so you can show us and tell us all about your failure.
Okay, like where do we start, Derek? Like so many mistakes to pick from. I would say that if you aren't making mistakes, you're not learning. Um, we've all, like you said, we've all been there, done that. We've put stuff in production that should not have been there. We've deleted stuff. We might not have taken backups. So, talking specifically about technology itself, I think one of the things that I've learned over the years, especially working with enterprises, is that although no matter how boring they are, sometimes processes work and they're there to kind of prevent you from doing something that you're not supposed to do. Things like maybe during a release, you're using a run book and following every single thing. Although it sounds looks robotic, processes are there to kind of help you through that. So that's one thing. But like Dipali said, I think the more important fact here is that you should be making mistakes, but probably you shouldn't be, repeating them repeatedly, right? And also, when somebody makes a mistake, we have this normal tendency to kind of, go defensive immediately. You don't need to do that. We're all human. We make mistakes. And yes, in organizations which already have processes in place, the mistake that you're making might not be that expensive in terms of fixing or cost to fix or whatever that is. So don't necessarily like freak out and like get defensive, but just accept that and talk immediately to whoever you have to talk to in order to get that sorted. Like, don't keep it aside thinking that no one will find it out. Try to immediately address it and try to tell someone that what's happened. Don't be afraid of any consequences that come after that, because nobody does mistakes on purpose.
Excellent. Well answered. Yep. Nobody does make mistakes on purpose. And that is very, very true. Okay. Well, who's next for this question? We do have some questions in the chat, and I'll see if I can go to those next. So, Jones, same question goes to you.
Yep. So been there, done that. So got my hands fiddling on the production environment. So yeah, but I don't want to recall that mistake, but rather I want to think about some of my learnings in terms of serverless. When I initially started with serverless, I used AWS Console, and a few weeks later, maybe when it was ready to go into production, it was a hard time, because hard to manage something that's on production, something that's on console to go into production, because you don't have an infrastructure as code. So I always recommend anybody who's starting off fresh to go with infrastructure as code, because be it even if you lose your main branch repo in your repo, you still have your infrastructure as code somewhere so that you could restore things and get things started up. So yeah.
Yeah, nice, Jones. That's a very pragmatic way of stopping failures. Infrastructure as code, fix failures with technology. Okay, and finally, Wendy, I'm coming to you with this question.
Thanks, Derek. So yeah, the mistake I made when I was starting out with AWS on the learning journey was I forgot to put MFA on my root account, and I didn't mean to do so. So I followed, the rule book. I tried to do everything correctly, but then one day my account got hacked, and so I panicked. Like, what am I going to do? So someone actually ended up building a SageMaker fraud detection model in North Virginia West. And then I found out, okay, someone's been spending some credits, some money on my account. So it wasn't actually a great feeling. But through that, I learned to remediate and put security protocols in setting up MFA, changing passwords, setting up guard duty, learning all about AWS security. And it was just in time for AWS Reinforce. So now I'm really passionate about security, and I actually blogged about it to teach people about AWS security. So get in there, make mistakes. That's the way you'll learn. And you'll learn from those mistakes as well, that you'll never make the same mistake again. So really break things. Don't be afraid. It's all part of the learning journey, like what Dipali mentioned as well.
Nice. Thanks, Wendy. Nice words.
Thanks,
I have a question. So this question is all around how do you transition from a web stack to more of an AML stack. I probably can start this discussion, and if anybody from the panel has anything else, please add one after me. So with anything in technology these days, it's all about not only passing the certifications, so having your specialization and doing modern application development with Python is fantastic, but there's also the hands-on doing element of things. So what we look out for in employers and people who want to find new talent is, have you written any blogs that show your skills in this area? Is there any demos that you have? Do you have a GitHub repository that shows what you're trying to achieve? So those sort of pieces of evidence are absolute gold, and I'd advise you, if you're trying to move from web to AIML, then to build some of that content. Has anybody else got any advice? Has anybody made the transition from one field to the other in the panel?
I've done like a transition from testing into development a few years ago, and it's actually exactly what you mentioned. I spent like a bit of time preparing side projects and building a few small solutions that I was passionate about, and I presented it, and people started liking it, and companies started liking it. But also a very important thing is that my previous experience in testing was also very relevant to the new shift that I've done. So your experience is meaningful, and it helps you learn how to learn and how to build things. So yeah.
Yep. Cool. Is anybody else anything to add before I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I just want to add one part actually, Derek. So yeah, great thing that you reiterated, especially if you want to move into data science, read blogs and, blog on like Medium or towards data science. I used to be an editor on towards data science. So showcase your work and your portfolio and definitely put interesting projects that you're really passionate about on GitHub as well. Yeah.
Awesome. So I hope that's answered your question for you, Agirjesh. Good luck with your transition into a very exciting space right now. Okay, on to the next question, panel. This one I'm going to ask Dipali first. Being a technology builder is not just knowing the tools; it's also learning how to think creatively about problems. So how do you approach these challenges, and what advice would you give to others, Dipali?
Okay, so actually, there are multiple ways to solve a problem. And from my perspective, it is always about keeping it simple and easy to maintain and not get overwhelmed or confused with the numerous tools available in the market. It is important to know about various tools because it gives ourselves different choices of solving that problem. But the key thing is to know when to use what and when not to use one. So I would say one should adopt a double diamond approach, where that is you diverge and then converge. So
Yep.
yeah.
I like that. So yeah, I've actually never heard of the double diamond approach before. I am going to read up on that. Thanks to Pally for sharing. So who's next for this question? I'm going to go to Faisal. You're up next. Let me focus on you and your magnificent camera. You win the camera stakes for today's show.
All right, great. So, solving problems, like Dipali just explained, one of the ways you can do it. That there are so many ways you can do it, right? But for me, when it comes to looking at challenges and how do you go about solving them, it's kind of the 5 whys concept for me, or is it 3? Because I normally get it solved at 3 whys. So you basically ask yourself, what is the problem first, and why does this problem exist, and why hasn't anyone else kind of solved it? And if you do have a solution, is your solution kind of a band-aid solution, or why is your solution better than anyone else that's kind of tried to solve it till today? And going back on the thing that I said, if you keep asking why this problem exists and why your solution is kind of what helps solve this problem, you could kind of get to the answer. But that's just one way to do it. Like Dipali said, so many different ways you can kind of figure out solutions.
Yeah, nice. I love the way everybody so far. I've only asked 2 of you have different methodologies. 5 whys I've heard about. Double diamond I have not. So this is great. So who's next? Who's going to teach me something new next? It's Jones. Jones, you're up.
Yep.
What's your process?
So I always look at the problem as small as possible. So even if it's a complex one, I try to break down it into a smaller questions, smaller problems, so that it's easier to approach. Why not the way when you can divide and conquer, right? So
Yep.
I love to take a complex problem. I mean, I don't love to take a complex problem, but whenever I come across a complex problem, I break them out to a simpler one so that it's easily approachable and easily conquerable. So,
Yep, nice. For those of us monitoring the chat, Rohini says the five whys is like a toddler. Why? I can totally appreciate where you're coming from there, Rohini. Okay. Same question. Next up is Wendy, I believe, for this one. Wendy,
Thanks.
let me do my thing. There we go. And action.
Thanks, Derek. Thank you. I actually take a really different approach. So most of the problems that I'm solving at the moment is analytics and data science for the last 5 years. So we actually use a framework called CRISDM. So it's cross-reference industry approach to data mining. So whenever you have an analytics problem, it's what is the business problem that you're trying to solve, whether you're working in consulting or working in banking or whatever industry it may be, even government where I am currently. And so when I teach my students at General Assembly, I tell them, use the CRISDM framework. You can never go wrong. So the first step is understand what the business problem is, find out what data source you might need to solve that problem. And don't always think about it's going to be a machine learning problem. So it could be an analytics problem. And then figure out what tools are available to me. So think about what tools you can use in your company. So you might not have access to all the Power BI or Tableau, but it could be just Excel. So be creative using Excel to solve your problem. But just think about what can I use at the enterprise level as well to solve that problem in the quickest way, given my time limit. What's the scope of that problem as well? But just follow CRISDM, and it's a 6-step process leading up to building the model, analyzing that, and then deployment and communicating the insight. So definitely CRISDM, you can never go wrong in data science or analytics.
Cool. Is it CRISDM?
CRISPDM. CRISPDM.
CRISPDM. Yep. I will look it up and put a link in the chat. Thanks very much, Wendy. And then finally, we're going to ask the same question to Ali.
Yeah, thanks. So lots of learnings today. The team has covered everything. So in addition to breaking up, if you have a big problem, break it up into simpler problems. Another thing I usually do is that I try to approach problems with an open mind. I try to seek perspectives, like to ask lots of people on their opinion and to ask for feedback about what I'm doing. And this helps me revisit what's going on. Am I solving the right problem? And am I solving the problem in the right way as well? Also, as I progress, I try to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, and revisit often.
Awesome. Nice. Thanks, Ali. We have a few people asking questions around serverless. I'm trying to understand the specific question. So if you've got a specific question around serverless, I could see there's a few questions in the chat, but they're not specific. So I can't ask them until you have a specific question. So if you have, please put it in the chat and I'll try and ask the panel because I know Jones knows a bit about serverless. So let's go to our next question. So this one is starting off with you, Faisal. What is your advice for developers who are getting started and how participating at AWS user group activities or joining the AWS community programs like community builders and heroes can help them? So everybody here is either a community builder or a hero, I believe. So some advice for everybody would be great. So Faisal, this one goes to you.
All right. So, the like you said, there are a lot of community programs that are out there, and specifically we have builders and heroes here. But any community program, especially with AWS, it necessarily isn't just about learning. There's a lot more that you can get from a community. For me personally, it is also about increasing your own confidence. I'm usually a very reserved person, but I'm coming here and talking to you and all of the other folks here. And this wouldn't actually have been possible if I haven't had been, with the community, because I got to meet a lot of different people working from different areas, got to learn a lot. That kind of helps you not just in your learning journey, it helps you in life in general. And I've also seen a lot of people that, have actually got better in what they do after they've joined these community programs. I've seen people, before they were doing the community programs, they were making content, they were doing videos, but today they're on a different level because you just have so much learning and experience that is there in the community that you can get from. And of course, you increase your connects across community, different people from different parts of the world, you get to meet them. And of course, there's a lot of benefits that actually come with, being part of the community. You get to, in a lot of instances, travel to different places. So, I've said everything about community except learning, but I think learning is kind of a given. So that's what I think.
Nice. It is a great place to learn. I'll echo that 100%. Next is, for the same question, goes to you, Jones.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, just wait for it. There we go. I'm really slow
Thank
on
you,
those. I
Derek.
do apologize. Go.
Yep. So AWS community has definitely helped me learn a lot because when serverless started around 4 years, when I started with serverless about 4 years ago, there was less content in terms of where do I begin. And certainly some meetups where I got to learn a lot of things. And that's where I kind of started my journey with serverless. So going to meetups, meeting folks, expanding your connection has certainly helped, which is all part of the AWS community. And when I say meetups, you get to meet a lot of folks who have excelled in their profession, and they come with sessions about how they build stuff, how they use a specific feature, and how you could probably use that feature. So you get to learn a lot of amazing things from the AWS community, and of course from the AWS Community Builder program. I got to meet a lot of folks globally, and I got to learn what they're doing in their local communities, and the whole world of virtual has definitely helped me collaborate with them. And it's been an amazing experience for me. So I definitely recommend anybody who is not in the AWS community to join their local AWS community ASAP.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if people watching, the people on this video at the minute, I'd only met over video prior to a couple of weeks ago, where we had our fantastic community summit in Thailand. And how awesome was it to meet everybody in person? It was absolutely fantastic. So a great community full of fantastic people. So Wendy, same question is now going to you.
Yeah, great question, Derek. So I think the best way is definitely join an AWS user group ASAP, especially when you're learning and starting to learn about AWS services. So for me personally, I joined AWS She Builds program actually last year in September. So as soon as I saw the advertisement on LinkedIn, I joined. So it's really important to be involved in community to support you in your studies as well. And there's lots of resources they could share about what tools you can use to prepare for your exam, and also learning from each other as well. And also being part of different events that are going to happen, really empowering events, especially women in tech. And I've also completed a recent program on AWS She Builds for the solution architecture program as well. So I hope you get to sign up if you're a women in tech. It's a really supportive program run by AWS. So really being part of this strong supportive network will really just further your learning journey, keep you motivated, which is most important, to have that growth mindset.
Awesome. Yes, the programs you referred to are Cloud Up and Skill Up from She Builds, fantastic programs. And I'll put a link to them, Wendy, in the chat as well.
Thanks, Derek.
So everybody can join in. Okay, and who's next? Next, we've got Ali on this question. Ali, off you go.
Yeah. So my advice would be like similar to what the team said. Yeah, join your user group, like in your local town or the closest city to you, and also contribute to the community. Myself, when I joined the Community Builder program, it's been like so amazing. It amplified and accelerated my learnings in a huge manner. First, there's heaps of people there who are like very smart and very experienced in their own domain, and everybody is very keen to help and very keen to just like discuss and brainstorm any kind of problems that you might have or any kind of question you might have. Also, when I go to the meetups here in Auckland, it's super nice, like to meet all of these people, see how they're using AWS, how they're learning together, what are their use cases. So this is super, super nice. Another thing I kind of really encourage you to do is to write your own blog posts, or start like going to presentations, participate in workshops, or do workshops yourselves. So this is something that I personally was very shy and nervous about doing, but like people like to hear your perspective. Everybody has something to offer, even if you're just like starting your learning journey. So yeah, go about it and share everything you're learning, and this will help you also gain a better understanding of things.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks for sharing. And then finally, this question is going to you, Dipali.
Sure, Derek. But I think nothing new to add here. So I think, in short, I would say there are only advantages when you join the community. No single disadvantage is there. And especially for the people who are just starting their journey on the self-learning basis, and they don't have team to discuss their problems and ideas, community is the best place to be in, because it is a huge pool of like-minded people with versatile experience, and which will definitely help you to be focused and motivated towards your learning goal. And if I
Yeah.
talk about programs like Community Builder or Hero, these helps you in overall personality development, as Faisal mentioned. Because along with technical skills, you also get various opportunities to get better at presentation, blogging, content writing, speaking at conferences, etc., etc. So definitely, one should definitely join AWS user group near to your place, and not just join. You should be an active member of that group.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some great questions coming in the chat, and there's a conversation going about different user groups, and they're saying, "Come join our user group." So this is fantastic. Please, if you've got a user group and you want to advertise it, now's the time to do it. Put it in the chat, and that's a great way of getting the word out there. So we've got about 8 minutes left. There's one question that I promised that I'd ask everybody, and because I think it's quite interesting all around when you get started. This was it. Share the type of initial project. So way back when, before you started on your technology journey, what did you build? What's the first thing you built when you were learning, if you can remember? Anybody wants to take that? So I think Ali, Dipali, and Fazal have all offered to take that question. So I'll start with Dipali because we ended there with you, and you everybody had answered the question before you. So I'm going to give you this one instead.
Sure, Derek.
So
I
let's go
think,
with you.
yeah, I would really means when I'm reading this question, lots of projects are coming into my mind. But if I talk about the very initial one, so when I was learning, when I started my AWS journey, so to learn each and every service, I tried to build some small POCs to understand that service better. So the very first thing which excited me when I really created one web server and opened port 80 in my EC2 machine, that see, oh wow, actually I can see this in action. Because before that I just read those concepts that how firewall works, but that was the first time when I could see it in action. So that was the very first thing. And after that, if I talk about any formal project, so I participated in hackathon. There I built one using the recognition, AWS recognition. I made a application where, like, for the smart entry system, is secure and smart entry system for employees. So the moment employee gets into the office premises, it greets that good morning, Dipali, welcome, or something like that. So that was the system. So it has security system inbuilt where, okay, like, because in office people have different access level for different floors. So
Yep.
so we created like different pools in there, so maintained that. So I think that was the first formal intermediate level project was. But yeah, otherwise, as I mentioned, all the small projects I started with, whether it is like just hosting web application on EC2 or static website on S3, and
Yep.
containerized single microservice. So yes, I think for every service, I try to build some POC and see this in action. That's exactly how it works.
Nice.
But yeah,
Yep.
let me give time to others so they can share some exciting projects.
No. You keep talking. Yeah. Thanks to Pally. Thanks for sharing your initial projects. Next, I'll ask Ali. What was your initial projects?
So first, I started with building my own portfolio, and it was a static website. I hosted it on S3, and then progressed from there into looking into Route 53 and how to connect the domain. But I also wanted to make it secure, so I wanted to use HTTPS. So built CloudFront in between and went on over it. But then when this finished, I also went into a different project where I started learning serverless there. And I built a small a serverless web application with a static website from one side, and it has a few Lambda servers through API gateway. And then they went into Dynamo database. But here I built a small application about private and public companies, just paid companies I created. And then here I built it with bugs. And I've written a small blog post about it, like just to just try to ask people who are reading the blog post to figure out what are the bugs. And it was pretty fun, and I learned a lot about serverless. So this was my first project into serverless.
Nice. And you could tell you're a tester because it was all about finding the bugs. Very nice.
Yeah.
Next is Wendy. Can you tell us about your first project?
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Derek. I was really interested in conversational AI because we're building a few things at work that we're using a different cloud provider. So I thought, I'll just experiment in AWS and build a chatbot using Amazon Lex. So I actually started off my journey in building something quite simple using Amazon Lex version 2 this year, and I blogged about it, my way of teaching people as well. And I also presented at an AWS user group as well. So best way is to learn how to use a functionality, the use case, the objective, describe what the outcome is, and share it with other people and talk about it, present it at a user group.
Yeah, nice. Good idea. And finally, Faisal.
Right. So so many small projects that you can start from. I would say for you specifically, you should first start with something that you're interested in, right? Not just pick a random project. So, for example, I was very interested in building websites, so I kind of started the website PHP MySQL kind of route that you could take, building small servers. But I have a little bit of a different take on this. You know, I have actually observed myself that if you kind of jump heads on into a big project, it might start off very frustrating. You'll feel like you're not getting nowhere, but somewhere in there, in a moment, something just clicks, and then everything else falls in place. It's kind of like how you play the game Sudoku. You fill up all the numbers. There's this one last number that's missing somewhere in there, and then you can just kind of fill out all of the rest of the numbers. So you can actually learn a lot more if you kind of jump heads on into a little bit of a larger project than you think you could handle when you start off. It will be a little frustrating at the beginning, but pick something that's a little bit challenging, and then you can kind of learn a lot more from it than just doing small projects.
Great advice, everybody. Really interesting to hear your first projects. Mine, like everybody else, was a static website, but I used Amplify, not EC2. So we are coming to the end of our show. This always happens when I run panels. We have more questions in the chat, and we've run out of time to answer them. So I apologize. Everybody's asked some questions. There's some good questions in there. We're all on socials. If you have specific questions, just please reach out. I'm sure everybody in the panel, I could speak for them all, are happy to hear your questions and help you in your journey with AWS. So I'd just like to thank everybody for spending the time in the panel to come and speak to everybody on the chat. Faisal, Jones, Wendy, Ali, and Dipali. Thank you so much for spending the time to come and share your knowledge with everybody. Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yes.
Derek. It
Great
was
guy.
Thank you, Derek. Thanks.
realizing time
Excellent.
flies.
It does.
Yeah.
It does fly. This
Yeah.
always happens. We always run out of time. So,
Now reading the cool comments in the chat section as well. So yeah, thanks
yep,
guys for making it so
please.
engaging.
Yeah, 100%. Keep engaging. If you missed, so this is all part of AWS Innovate. If you missed some of the sessions, and there were some fantastic sessions today at Innovate, you can still catch them on demand. That's the registration link. If you register there, you will be able to watch the on-demand sessions as well. So thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for engaging in the chat. It was really fantastic to meet you all. And we'll probably do this again sometime. So until then, see ya. Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye.